Hello everyone. Today we are going to read the chapter Ishwaran the Storyteller from the book Moments. And the writer is R.K. Lakshman. First, let me tell you about R.K. Lakshman, the author of the chapter. R.K. Lakshman was a very famous storyteller and a cartoonist. He belongs to Karnataka. He drew sketches for one of the most famous serials in India, the Malgudi Days. He also drew cartoons for some of the leading newspapers of India. Now let's come to the title of the chapter, Ishwaran, the Storyteller. The story is about Ishwaran, a man named Ishwaran, and he is a storyteller. The author says that storytelling is an art. When we tell a story, we try to imitate the particular character, expressions, body languages. The way of narrating the story must be in such a way that the listener must be spellbound, captivated, and must feel interested. The author wants to highlight the qualities of Ishwaran as a storyteller in this chapter. And he is good at storytelling, that the stories appears to be true. The way it is produced, the way it is placed, the way it is narrated before the listeners. Now let's read the chapter, and you should be attentive while the chapter is being explained. The story was narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahendra by name. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hire supervisors at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. So here the particular story is being narrated to Ganesh, a particular person, Ganesh, by Mahendra. And Mahendra is a supervisor at a construction firm. So, constructions firm, and it provides supervisors for different sites, like the particular site where the factory is being built, buildings, bridges, dams. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then as ordered by his head office. So Mahendra has to move from place to place whenever he got an order from the company. Suppose he would be working at a hospital site, then he would be after some months he would be instructed by his company that he should move to a particular site where a bridge was being constructed. So every now and then, after some months, he had to move from place to place as per the instructions of his company. From there, after a few months, to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. He was a bachelor. Mahendra. Bachelor means what? Unmarried. His needs were simple and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions. So he was a bachelor, and his needs were also very simple. So he had no family, no children. So he was able to adjust himself to all the odd conditions. Then wherever the company wanted him to move, he would go. He didn't find any difficulty because he was a single person, he was unmarried. So it was convenient for him to move to any place as instructed or ordered by the company. Whether it was an ill-equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent in the middle of a stone quarry. Quarry means here mine. Sometimes he would be living in the circuit house where there would be no facility. Sometimes he would be living in a very good, comfortable house. Sometimes he would be ordered to go to a particular construction site where there would be no house, but he would have to live in a tent, a simple ordinary tent made of canvas. So he was accustomed to all kind of odd situations, conditions. The cook, but one asset he had was his cook. He had an asset. That means a companion, a helper, and it was the cook. Ishwaran, the name of the cook. The cook was quite attached to Mahendra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. So wherever he was posted, transferred by the company, the cook, Ishwaran, used to follow him. And he did not complain. But wherever his master went, he would follow him uncomplainingly. He would never complain about the odd situation, about the odd condition of that particular place. Wherever he was posted, he cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes, and chatted away with his master at night. So he cleaned the house, cooked food, and also at night after dinner he chatted with Mahendra. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. So he used to chat with him, he used to cook food for him, he used to tidy the house, and at night he would chat with his master, that means Mahendra. And what he used to do? He used to weave out endless stories, anecdote, that means incidents or small stories connected personally. So he would tell Mahendra stuff about some incidents, about some stories to which he was personally connected. It was a routine work, it was a monotonous routine, every day's monotonous routine of Mahendra. Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere. In the middle of a desolate landscape with no shop visible miles around. When Mahendra would be posted to a particular place, desolate, that means there would be no person, empty. And in that desolate place also, Mahendra would manage to get food, grains, vegetables, fresh vegetables within no time. And Mahendra could not understand how he used to manage such fresh vegetables and other cooking materials for cooking. But it was his quality that has been described in this particular paragraph. He would miraculously conjure means to gather or create with magic. That means he would manage to gather to all those ingredients and most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetable within an hour of arriving at the zinc shelter at the new workplace. Zinc shelter means temporary shelter. When he would be posted to a particular place and within no time, within an hour, Ishwaran would be able to gather all the materials and for the cooking, and he would cook, he would prepare the most delicious food at the zinc smelter, that means at the temporary shelter they would be staying at. Mahendra would be up early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast. Every morning, Mahendra would get up after having his breakfast, he would leave for work, carrying some prepared food with him. So Ishwaran would also prepare lunch for him, and when he would, after breakfast, when he would leave for office, Mahendra would be handed over the lunch by Ishwaran. Meanwhile, Ishwaran would tidy up the shed, wash the clothes, have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering prayers all the while. So when Mahendra would leave for work, he would wash the clothes, tidy the shed, and when it would be leisure time for him, what he would take bath and pour buckets, many buckets of water over him, and he would be muttering prayers. Muttering means speaking in low voice. He would be muttering his prayers while he would be taking his bath. It would be lunch time by then. Until he would be having his bath, it would be his lunch time. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. And after having his lunch, he would go for a little sleep. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginative descriptions, narrative flourishes would hold Ishwaran in a thrall. So before going for a nap, he would read a Tamil book, a story book, and thriller running into Tamil thriller stories and hundred of pages. Its imaginative description and the narrative flourishes would hold Ishwaran in a thrall. That means thrall in detailed description. And the stories that he would read, the stories he used to create, the stories he used to narrate to Mahendra, the Tamil stories had a great impact, influence over his woven stories. His own descriptions were greatly influenced by the Tamil author that he read. So the story that he used to narrate to Mahendra, the stories had a great impact of the Tamil stories that he used to read. When he was narrating even the smallest of incidents, he would try to work in suspense and surprise ending into the account. Whenever Ishwaran would be narrating even a single incident, he would would not come to the point, but he would create suspense and surprise even while he would be narrating the smallest incident. For example, instead of saying that he had come across an uprooted tree on the highway, he would say, suppose he would be describing that when he was moving on the highway, he saw an uprooted tree. So he would directly would not tell you that he had seen an uprooted tree, but he would create suspense and surprise, and the way he would tell us is given in the book. For example, he would say, he with eyebrows suitably arched and hands held out in dramatic gesture. So when he would tell us, first his eyebrows would be arched in surprise, and then he would say, the road was deserted, empty. Nobody could be seen, and the road was empty. Not even a single human being was near. The road was deserted, and I was all alone. That means he was all alone. The road was deserted. Suddenly I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast-like spot. And then enormous, huge. He would say that while he was walking on the highway, he saw something very huge, beast, an animal lying on the road. Across the road, lying, sitting, sprawled, means sitting in the middle of the road. I half inclined to turn and go back there. Then he would say that first when he saw that beast, he got scared. He decided to go back. Then he would say that he gathered all his courage and decided to go and see that animal. But as I came closer, I saw that it was a fallen tree. And then he would say he was scared when he was going to that particular beast, which was sitting in the middle of the road. He moved slowly, and then he would say, when he reached that particular animal, he saw that it wasn't an animal, but it was a tree, a huge fallen tree. I saw that it was a fallen tree with its dry branches spread out. Mahendra would stretch himself back in the canvas chair and listen to Ishwaran's tales uncritically. And when he would be seeing that he started moving towards that particular beast, Mahendra would be curious to know what was that huge beast. And when he would say that when Ishwaran would say that when he reached that particular point, he saw that it was a big, huge fallen tree. Then Mahendra would relax. His curiosity would come to an end. And he would be surprised that it was only a tree, fallen tree. And Mahendra would never criticize his story, but he would listen to them. The place I come from is famous for timber. Timber means when wood is furnished for commercial purposes, it is called timber. So, Ishwaran would say that the particular place from where he comes is famous for timber. Ishwaran would begin. There is a richly wooded forest all around. So the particular place where he comes from, it is surrounded by woods, that means jungle, forests. The logs are hauled on the lorries by elephant, and when the trees are cut down, the huge logs are hauled, that means transported on the lorry. Lorries mean truck by elephants. They are huge, well-fed beast. Huge. We know that elephant is a huge beast. Elephant is a huge beast animal, and they are well-fed. When they turn wild, even the most experienced mahout is not able to control them. And he also says that when an elephant gets angry, when it becomes out of control, even the most experienced mahout would not be able to control it. Mahout, the particular person who controls, who rides an elephant. After this prologue, Ishwaran would launch into an elaborate, means detailed anecdote involving an elephant. And then he would launch into a very detailed incident related to an elephant. One day, a tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about. Tusker here refers to an elephant. Ishwaran says that one day a tusker and an elephant escaped from the timber yard and started roaming everywhere, roaming about in the area, stamping on the bushes, tearing up wild creeper and breaking branches at will. So he started imitating the behavior of an elephant. He himself started thumping his leg on the ground, trying to imitate the actions of an elephant. How an elephant stamps on the ground. Then he also says that it was tearing the wild creepers, breaking the branches at will. According to which the elephant kept on breaking the branches of the trees. You know, sir, how an elephant behaves when it goes mad. And then while narrating the story, he asked Mahendra if he knew how an elephant behaves when it gets mad. That means he wanted to tell Mahendra that when an elephant gets mad, it is uncontrollable. It cannot be controlled. And it can cause loss and heavy destruction and damage to life and property. Ishwaran would get so caught up in the excitement of his own story that he would get up from the floor and jump about, stamping his feet in emulation of the mad elephant. And while narrating the story, Ishwaran would get so much caught up in the story, so much involved in the story, that he would get up on the ground. He would get up and start stamping on his feet like a mad elephant. He would try to imitate the behavior of an elephant. The elephant reached The outskirts. Outskirts, that means you can say the boundary or an area. Outskirts of our town, breaking the fences down like matchsticks. Ishwaran said that when the elephant reached the outskirts of the area was fenced with, you can say, with pillars and all. So it broke the pillars like matchsticks, the boundary down like matchsticks. That means those pillars were nothing in front of the strength of the huge elephant. He would continue. It came into the main road and smashed all the stalls selling fruits, mud pots, and clothes. And then the elephant came out on the main road, and there were many stalls displayed along the roadside. And it kept on destroying all the stalls. It smashed, it destroyed, it damaged all the stalls that were displayed along the roadside. People ran helter-skelter here and there in panic. In panic, sudden fear. People got panicked and they started running here and there to save their lives. The elephant now entered a school ground where children were playing. And now what did the elephant do? It broke the boundary wall of a school and it entered where children were playing in the school playground. Breaking through the brick wall. Even the brick wall was no match for the strength, against the strength of an elephant. All the boys ran into the classroom and shut the door tight. All the students, when they saw the elephant, they ran into the classroom and closed the door after them. The beast grunted and wandered about. Grunted, that means loud sound that is produced by the elephant. And he started wandering everywhere in the school campus. Pulling out the football post, the elephant pulled out the football post in the ground. Tearing down the volleyball net, even the volleyball net was also torn by the elephant. Kicking and flattening the drum kept for water. There was a drum kept in the field to drink water. It was also destroyed by the elephant. And uprooting the shrub. There were different types of flower plant shrubs and they were uprooted by the elephant. Meanwhile, all the teachers had climbed up to the terrace of the school building. And what did the teacher do? The students got into the room and the teachers, they climbed the terrace. From there, they helplessly watched the depredations of the elephant. That means they were helpless. The damage that was being caused by the elephant, they were helpless and watching all the things. The damage caused by the elephant just from the terrace of the school building. They were helpless. They couldn't do anything in front of the elephant. There was not a soul below the ground, not even a soul. Nothing was there. Nobody was there. The students had locked themselves into the room. The teachers were there on the terrace. The streets were empty as if the inhabitants of the entire town had suddenly disappeared. Even the streets were empty. That means it appeared as if all the inhabitants of that particular town had disappeared. I was studying in the junior class at that time and was watching the whole drama from the rooftop. And Ishwaran said that at that time he was studying in the junior class. Junior class means from primary level, from class 1 to 5. And he was also there on the terrace with the teacher. And he was watching all the incidents from the terrace. I don't know what came over me suddenly. And he said that he could not understand. He was overcome with some power. But he himself could not understand what had happened to him at that time. I grabbed a cane from the hands of one of the teachers and ran down the stairs into the open. He immediately grabbed a cane from a teacher's hand and without saying a word, before anybody could understand, he ran down the stairs. And he came in the open area in front of the elephant. The elephant grunted and menacingly swung a branch of a tree which it held in its trunk. When the elephant saw a small boy in front of it, it grunted. It was expressing its anger, even through a branch that it was holding in its trunk. It stamped its feet, kicking up a lot of mud and dust. And he imitated the actions of the action of the elephant. That how the elephant he tried to show it to Mahendra how the elephant was behaving when he reached in front of the elephant. He stamped his feet just like the elephant, and he said that when the elephant stamped its feet on the ground, lot of mud and dust was there. It looked frightening, but I moved slowly towards it, stick in hand. Mahendra also said that it was a very frightening moment. He wasn't afraid of the elephant. But even though with the stick still in his hand, he moved towards the elephant. People were watching the scene hypnotized. People were watching the scene hypnotized. What do you mean by hypnotized? To influence, control, or direct completely by a personal charm, words, or you can say domination. So everybody was hypnotized. That means they were awe-struck. They were shocked. They could not understand what a small boy was going to do with that elephant.